This is the Chainmakers song. 800 women's lives were hell, one woman knew too well. Long hard days and troubled nights. She said, stand with me, you have your rights. Mary Macarthur was her name. She played the men at their own game. She showed the truth behind the chains. No minimum wage, it's a nation's shame. And she said, stand with me, stand tall. We're strong together even with our backs against the wall. They gave birth and back to work again. This was a woman's life, Cradley Heath in 1910. Mary was stunned this was going on. She showed the truth, now her light shines on. 800 women making chains. They worked night and day, but they had names. They raised their families the best they could. They didn't have the rights they should. And she said, stand with me, stand tall. We're strong together even with our backs against the wall. Old and young, they worked a 12-hour day. The feeling of injustice wouldn't go away. 700 women backed her in a strike. Mary said the government should see the light. A woman in her 70s was heard to say, I finally have my rights as a woman today. You will not put me in these chains I make. I will have equal pay. And she said, stand with me, stand tall. We're strong together even with our backs against the wall. She would have got into Parliament, but for just one thing, her married name on the voting slip. She had a wedding ring, the women didn't recognize it. Such a shame, they only knew her by her maiden name. And we are mothers and lovers and sisters and wives, all of us workers for all of our lives. You gave us hope and strength to carry on. Your vision was clear and our hearts, they are strong. Mary Macarthur, where we stand with you, and we stand tall, and we're strong together even with our backs against the wall. Mary Macarthur, where we stand with you, and we stand tall. We're strong together even with our backs against the wall. Cradley Heath in 1910, women's lives weren't the same again. Thank you.
Women chainmakers, Cradley Heath.
Listen!
Please listen to what Miss Mary Macarthur has to say, as I believe you will find she has some very good news for you all.
Mary! Mary! Come, Mary!
Today marks the day of victory for the women chainmakers of Cradley Heath. I can now report to you that the last meeting of our strike was held yesterday at Granger's Lane School. The vast majority of your employers have now signed the whitelist. That is the list of manufacturers who have agreed to pay the new rates. Today, ladies, you can hold your heads up high and be assured of the dignity of your worth. But to the manufacturers and employers, I say this is no defeat. Indeed, this is the day on which we all move forward to a fairer and more civilised world, where those with more give back to those who have little. And I know this struggle has not been without its sacrifices, particularly those women who risk their livelihoods through their strike action. Ladies, you can rest assured that your names will go down in history as the Cradley women who rose up against poverty wages for sweated labour. sincerely hope that your story is kept alive in the Black Country and beyond for many, many generations to come.
Women chainmakers, can I ask that you give Miss Mary Macarthur 3 cheers for her work and her ability to actually make the world better for you ladies. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Thank you, women chainmakers of Cradley. You have made a brave start.
Welcome to the Chainmakers Festival. We've now got a series of speeches that we're interested in, and the lady that's going to introduce all of the speakers is patron of the festival itself. So if you'd like to welcome to the stage Sylvia Heel, please.
We've gone, I'm delighted to say, from the fact that Mary Macarthur and the women of this town had been almost forgotten by history. But now we have this as an annual event, and we have the annual Mary Macarthur Lecture, and the Equality Award that's given by the TUC is named after Mary Macarthur. We are determined to make sure that Mary Macarthur and the women chainmakers of Cradley Heath, their success has transformed our labour and trade union movement, and we will not let them be forgotten.
Do you know, I'm really, really pleased to be with you today in the Black Country to celebrate over a century ago where those women really trailblazed some of the fights that we continue to fight today.
The 1970 Equal Pay Act came about largely because 184 brave women, machinists at Ford Dagenham's, plant down tools because they wanted paying the same rate as men. And the 1975 Sex Discrimination Act came into force as a result of the efforts of so many women in the labour movement.
And it's a very, very big and warm welcome from your hometown, Stephanie Peacock, MP.
Thank you so much. Well, we meet to commemorate the contribution of the women chainmakers of Cradley Heath. We don't just meet here today to commemorate the chainmakers of Cradley Heath, but to pay tribute to and acknowledge the struggle of women workers today. Women workers who struggle with the scandal of poverty pay. Women workers who still make up 5 out of 100 directors of top companies. Women workers who effectively stop being paid on the 9th of November due to a 14% gender pay gap, half a century after the Equal Pay Act.
In the West Midlands alone, 87,000 plus public sector jobs have gone since 2010. A level 2 teaching assistant in Sandwell is set to lose £7,858 from a decade of pay cuts. A nurse is set to lose over £18,000 because of a decade of pay cuts. The economy of the West Midlands is set to lose £1.3 billion if the pay cap is not lifted.
And I think we should say a particular thank you to our reenactors who've been here. I was told on a previous time they were so enthusiastically enacting the conflict between the chainmakers and their bosses that someone intervened to break up the fight. They're definitely very lively, wonderful, and it does remind us just what those women chainmakers were up against.
You've heard the story of the chainmakers, their fight against poverty wages. I see that fight in the flag of the Black Country, only 5 years old but full of beauty. West Midlands chains were made to anchor ships at sea, made to harness power, but they were also made to keep people out and to chain people up. When I see those chains, I see the struggle of the chain makers. I see the chains that we choose to make, the chains that we forge to bind us together. Representing the women who made the chains, Mary Macarthur said, Women are unorganised because they are badly paid, and poorly paid because they are unorganised.
Mickey were a chain maker down in Derby End, working brung the armour down on steel. He made Titanic anchor, he stood with his wench Beth, and the Aussies pulled it through the Cradley streets. And they had strong guns, warm hearts, strong guns and a warm heart. They'd offer you the rap and palmen. They had strong guns, warm hearts, strong guns and a warm heart. They'd offer you the rap and palmen. They had strong arms. Now Sailskin were a boatman, and he come from Aubrey town. From Messrs he did take the loads away. Went all the road to Liverpool, he stood with his wench Ruth, and he sung them all the songs on yesterday. And they had strong guns, warm heart, strong guns and a warm heart. They'd offer you the up and palms, and they had strong guns, warm heart, strong guns and a warm heart. They'd offer you the up and palm, and they had strong guns. And the day how much these folk on this island, but they'd offer you a warm heart and strong gun. Me father were a steel man, working down Low Town. From Messrs he did take them loads away. And I know that he was proud on him, and all that now I hope that there's a little bit on me. Sing it. And they had strong guns, warm hearts, strong guns and a warm heart. They'd offer you the up and palm, and they had strong guns, and a warm heart. Had strong guns and warm heart. Offer you the up and palm, and they had strong guns.
Oh, yeah, yeah.